All right, we're going to learn how to graph a linear equation when it's in the y equals mx plus b form. All right, so step one is to write down what the slope is and the y-intercept. Okay, so in this equation, y equals 2 over 5x minus 4. My slope is 2 over 5. And my y-intercept is -4. Okay, so that is step one. Step two is to go to the graph and plot where the y-intercept is. Okay, so in my question here, the y-intercept is -4. So I'm going to go on the y-axis, okay, which is the line that's going up and down. And I'm going to go where -4 is. Okay, and -4 is down here on the y-intercept. And I'm going to draw a dot. Okay, so I'm going to draw a big dot where the y-intercept is. All right, now from there, I need to use the slope. Okay, and the slope is kind of made out of two words. The first word is rise, and the second word is run. Okay, and when we're graphing, we kind of want to remember we're always going to run to the right. All right, it's kind of easy. The word run starts with the letter R, and the word right starts with the letter R. Okay, so from there, from my y-intercept, I'm going to rise to, because that's what my slope is, has a rise of 2, and it has a run of 5. And I'm going to run to the right. Okay, so that's, we count there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to put a second dot where the slope ends up. Okay, from there, once I have two dots, I'm just going to connect the dots to draw a line. All right, so you're going to draw your best line going through both dots, and you're going to put arrows through it. And that is how you graph a linear equation. All right, now these little arrows that I drew in blue on the graph, you don't need to draw that. I'm just drawing that so that you guys can see how it is graphed or how I get this blue dot. All right, so step one, write out what the slope and y-intercept are. Step two, plot the y-intercept on the y-axis. Step three, use your slope to find your second dot. And then step 4 is just to connect a line that goes through both dots. And that is how you graph a linear equation. Okay, let's try another example here. Okay, so my step 1 is to find a slope. My slope is 3 over 4, so I'm going to write here m equals 3 over 4. My y-intercept is positive 2, so I'm going to write b equals 2. Okay, step 1 done. Step 2 is to plot your y-intercept on the y-axis. Okay, so again, look at this y-axis. You're going to look at where the positive 2 is. Okay, so that's way up here, positive 2. Okay, and you're going to do a big dot where the y-axis meets. Step 3, you're going to count the slope. Okay, remember the slope is rise over run, and I'm always going to run to the right. Okay, so from my y-axis, I'm going to go up 3. Okay, so from the y-intercept, I'm going to 3, and then I'm going to run 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to put a dot where that ends up. Okay, and then the last step is to draw a line that goes through both points. Okay, let's try another example. Step 1, write down what the slope is. Okay, the slope is -1 over 2. And when I get a negative slope, All right, sometimes questions might be written like this, or like this, or like this. So if you have a negative, it might be written in the middle, it might be written on the bottom number, or it might be written on the top number. If it's written in any of these ways, I always want you guys to use this one here. Always write the negative on the top, and I'll explain why in a bit. All right, so step one, write down what the slope is. If there's a negative, throw it on the top number. Step two, write down what the y-intercept is. Okay, so in this question, the y-intercept is -5. Okay, so that was all step one. Step two, I'm going to look on the y-axis. Okay, and I'm going to plot where the y-intercept is. So the y-intercept is going to be way down here where -5 is. Okay, now the next step's a little bit different than the first two questions because now my rise is -1. Okay, so when I have a rise of -1, instead of going up 1, I'm going to be going down 1. Okay, but I'm always going to run to the right. Okay, so for this question, I'm going to go down 1 because the rise is -1, and I'm going to run 2, which is going to be end up over here. All right, from there, your last step is to draw a line that goes through both dots as best as you can with arrows on the end. All right. All right, so this is the last type of scenario where you might run into. Okay, and in this scenario, you're going to notice that I don't have a fraction for slope. Okay, so my slope is just -3. So I'm just going to write here m equals -3. All right, now my y-intercept is +4, so I'm just going to write here +4. So step one is done. Step two is to plot your y-intercept on the graph. Make sure you plot it on the y-axis. Oops. Okay, so here is my y-intercept, which is +4. Now, for some of you guys are going to go, oh, my rise is -3, so I'm going to go down. But when I have no run, okay, and this question is not a fraction, it's just -3. When I have no run, I have to remember that in math, numbers by itself is actually over 1. All right, so if you don't see a run in a question, because it's not a fraction, my slope is just a whole number, not a fraction, you're going to make it a fraction by putting it over 1. Okay, so in this question, you're going to go down 3 and run 1 to the right, which is going to be over here. Okay, from there, you're going to draw a line going through both dots and put arrows on both ends of your line. Okay, and that is how you graph a linear equation. All right, so let's break it down into steps. Step one, write down what the slope and y-intercept are. If the slope is a whole number, make it a fraction by writing it over 1. Step two, plot your y-intercept on the graph. Step three, from your y-intercept, you're going to count the rise, whether it be up or down. And then you're going to run to the right and put a second dot where that is. And then step 4, you're going to draw a line through both dots with arrows on the ends of each of that line. And that is how you graph a linear equation.